It actually makes sense to take the time and go through it in detail. Yeah. I know. Well, we'll just, he's going 3 times a week, and then after he's gone, we'll just pick right back up with it. Yeah. So that's what we're doing. So we've been talking about refuge. What are the causes for taking refuge? What are the objects of refuge? And we're continuing on the third part of taking refuge, which is called measuring the extent to which we've taken refuge, or in other words, how to take refuge in the Buddha Dharma Sangha. One translation of refuge that comes from Alexander Berzin that I really like is taking a safe direction. We're taking a safe direction in our life in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, and we're making a decision that out of all the unlimited possibilities that exist in the universe, of which what we're experiencing now is one of them, we're making a decision to consciously choose like a safe conduit and direction that is given to us by the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, so that we can achieve lasting happiness and enlightenment for the benefit of all living beings. Yeah. So in order to know how to take refuge in the 3 jewels, we need to understand their qualities. So we've been talking about those. We identified the qualities of the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha in terms of their conventional appearances and their ultimate nature. And if you don't remember what those are, that you can go back to the video. It's called Key Practices of the Path, Taking Refuge in the 3 Jewels, Meditation 4, Part 1 and Part 2. Those are all in those. They're all there in the emails that I sent. So what I want to get to is there were 2 kinds of refuge, which is called causal refuge and resultant refuge. And normally we don't often do the resultant refuge. So the causal refuge refers to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha that already exist. They are the different beings that are Buddhas. They're the Dharma realizations on our mind stream. On their mind streams, Dharma realizations and the cessations of ignorance and afflictions on the mind streams of the Buddhas and what are called the Arya noble beings. Arya noble beings are those beings who have generated what is called bodhicitta, which is the altruistic intention to attain enlightenment for the benefit of all living beings. And then they have had a direct realization of the nature of reality, which is that all things are completely absent of existing in any kind of impossible way, meaning that things can't exist independently in an interdependent system of reality. There's just no way that they can exist concretely from their own side, the way they seem to appear to us. That's not the way things exist. So so those are the Dharma realizations. And then the Sangha are these noble beings who have had the direct perception of emptiness and have that altruistic intention to become enlightened for the benefit of all beings. That's called bodhicitta. So because they call them the 3 jewels, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and because the 3 jewels have attained these realizations, they become suitable guides and safe guides for us. They've attained what we want to develop on ourselves, and they're reliable for showing us the way. So when we just took refuge at the beginning of these prayers, that's what we're taking. That's the causal refuge. We're taking refuge in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha that exist. We want to say out there, but actually, there is really no out there. They exist. As soon as you call on a Buddha, they're there with you. But I want to talk about the resultant refuge. So the resultant refuge refers to the Buddha that we will become, the Dharma realizations that we will have on our own mind stream, and the noble being or the Sangha that we will become when we have had a direct perception of emptiness and we have generated this bodhicitta that I was talking about. So it's important to remember that when we're doing this, when we're taking refuge in the thing that we're going to become, we're not taking refuge in our present contaminated mind stream. We're taking refuge in the mind stream that we will become in the future as we follow this pathway, this safe direction. And so, and Brian, you were talking about Tantra. This is what Tantra is. Tantra is imagining your end goal, imagining the enlightened being that you're going to become, imagining the realizations that you're going to have, imagining what it means to become a noble Arya being. So you imagine it, you sort of visualize it, you kind of feel it, and this is what Tantra is all about. Because in order to do anything in our life, whether it's, you know, a career path we're taking, or if it's the Dharma, or if it's building a new house, or if it's, you know, taking care of your, or getting a new car, we always visualize it first. We have to think about it, imagine it first before we actually do it. We don't realize this, but even if you get up to go to the bathroom, you have to think about it and imagine that you're going to do it first. You know, you just, that's what happens. You go, especially, well, you know, I mean, sometimes when you get older, you forget to think about that first. But that is how we do things, and that is what Tantra is all about. It's visualizing. So we're going to do this a meditative visualization on the resultant refuge, and this will include both the conventional and ultimate Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha that we talked about. Remember, I did all those little doodle drawings, and it showed the conventional and ultimate. It's referring to this. Okay, so what we want to do is you just sit in a comfortable position. Try to have your spine straight. You can have your hands in your lap or on your knees. We don't have to get too, you know, technical about this. Spend a minute just clearing your mind by single pointedly focusing your awareness on your breath at the exact spot where it comes in and goes out of the nostrils. Okay, this will help direct our minds to a neutral state. So just do that for a little bit. Imagine that the conscious presence of the Buddha is in front of you, entire space in front of you, and it appears like a luminous clarity just filling the entire space in front of you. Just imagine that. As you breathe in, feel that the Buddha's consciousness is connecting with you. As you breathe out, feel that your consciousness is connecting with the Buddha's. Do this a few times to establish a connection between you and the Buddha. Now, as you breathe in, think that you are inhaling pure, blissful energy from the Buddha. Imagine that this blissful energy enters through your right nostril if you are male, or your left nostril if you are female. As you exhale through the opposite, imagine that all of your clinging desire, your emotional weakness, your lust, exits in the form of black smoke-like energy. It dissolves and completely disappears. So do this a few times. Blissful energy in from the Buddha through one nostril, and then all of this afflictive attachment energy out through the other nostril, and it turns into black smoke and disappears. Now do the reverse. Breathe in pure blissful energy from the Buddha through the left nostril if you're male or the right nostril if you're female. As you exhale through the opposite nostril, think that all of your anger, all of your fear, all of your self-loathing exits in the form of this black smoke-like energy and dissolves, completely disappears. So do this a few times. Blissful energy in from the Buddha through the other nostril, and this anger, aversion, self-loathing energy out through the opposite nostril as black smoke and disappears. Finally, breathe in pure blissful energy from the Buddha through both nostrils. And as you exhale through both nostrils, think that all of your confusion, misunderstanding, misperceptions, all of this exits through the crown of your head in the form of black smoke-like energy. It dissolves and it completely disappears. So do this a few times. Blissful energy through both nostrils from the Buddha, and then this misperception, confusion, ignorance exits through the crown of your head as black smoke and dissolves. Now just return to breathing naturally. Imagine that the luminous, clear consciousness of the Buddha before you enters into you through the center of your forehead and merges with your consciousness, so that your consciousness and the Buddha's consciousness become of the same nature, sort of like water mixing with water. As this occurs, feel the arising of unchanging bliss within your entire being. Remain in this state of immutable bliss for a brief period. Now, project this blissful consciousness of you merged with the Buddha into the space in front of you. Think of this as the future resultant mind stream of the Buddha that is within your nature and potential to become. Imagine your future resultant mind stream now takes the form of the Buddha you will become in the space in front of you. So this is a Buddha's body of light, your Buddha's body of light, radiating loving kindness, compassion, and omniscient wisdom. As you breathe in, imagine your future enlightened qualities enter your present being at your heart chakra in the form of brilliant blue light energy, sort of like in a tube of blue energy going into your heart chakra. As you breathe out, imagine all the obstacles to attaining these qualities: loving kindness, compassion, omniscient wisdom, All the obstacles are removed. Do this a few times. Now, focus on the omniscient mind of the future Buddha you will become. Imagine that that mind is in the space before you. This is your future enlightened mind, which simultaneously perceives all conventional appearances and the emptiness of their inherent existence directly. Contemplate the dependently arising nature of your future omniscient mind, all the levels and pathways of consciousness that you will go through to achieve this kind of mind. Now, think about the utter absence of all defilements and obscurations on your future omniscient mind. As you breathe in, imagine that your enlightened mind and its unstained emptiness enters your current being through the crown chakra at the top of your head in the form of intensely luminescent white light energy. As you breathe out, imagine all obstacles to attaining this enlightened mind are removed. Do this a few times. Now imagine that the resultant Buddha before you, the Buddha you will become, begins to speak the Dharma teachings. As you breathe in, imagine the transformative power of these teachings enters your being at your throat chakra in the form of discriminating and insightful red light energy that purifies all the blocks you have to comprehending the Dharma. As you breathe out, imagine that all obstacles to practicing and realizing these teachings are removed. Do this a few times. Now imagine the Buddha that you will become is before you. Oh, sorry. Moving on. Now imagine all the levels of Dharma realizations that will exist on your resultant mind stream once you have had a direct realization of emptiness. These Dharma realizations are called true paths of consciousness. In addition, now imagine the cessation on your future mind stream of all forms of attachment and aversion and the ignorance which is at their root. These cessations are called true cessations. Imagine that the collection of these true paths and true cessations on your mind stream appear as a stream of pure light energy that enters your being at the crown chakra in the space between your eyebrows. As you breathe out, imagine that all obstacles to attaining these true paths and these true cessations on your mind stream are removed.